subject of organizational campaign, branding, and the use of directed media outreach to reach target audiences. So our organization, Food for the Hungry, we get this monthly newspaper about direct marketing. Sometimes I give it a glance, and yesterday in the office I was trying to come together with some points for this. I just saw a few things in this article called Fostering Loyalty Through Branded Stories, and thought it sounded kind of relevant. So I underlined 3 parts, and thought that I would kind of frame my talk around that. So the first was that getting people to look is the easy part, but the leap from flash to substance is more difficult to orchestrate. Second of all, talking about a story that may seem kind of trivial, but to take that story and broaden your product into some emotional context that really resonates with consumers and allows for that brand bonding process. And finally, that in the long run, this involves creating a communication blueprint and a consumer print by mining available data and consuming in-depth interviews with stakeholders. So, yeah, I kind of took that as my food for thought. So, first off, when it comes to branding and campaigning, our organization, Food for the Hungry, we kind of have our name is sort of an identity crisis. It sounds like we're a local food bank in Abbotsford, but we do international development in 10 countries around the world. So when we try to explain to people how we are, we had, as of last year, 5 different brochures. So I'll just kind of pass these out and explain a bit. We have 4 of these. Share that. First and foremost is our child development program. So the gist of that, it's a child sponsorship program, $38 a month. It's also school fees, uniforms, food, and community-driven programs. So all of our programs are very child-focused. Second, we've got our community-to-community program, also known as C2C, which is basically we have reps that link up Canadian churches, businesses, organizations with a community in a developing country overseas. That can involve trips, sending funds, learning from each other. We also have our international medical equipment and distribution program. Another brochure. We have a warehouse in Saskatoon that collects old hospital equipment, refurbishes it, and then ships them in containers to hospitals in developing countries, along with lots of training that comes with that. And another aspect, we've got a planned giving program. Basically all your information about wills, leaving a gift to Food for the Hungry, that kind of stuff. And we have our general brochure. That sort of says a bit about our name and who we are. So, all sound like really, really great programs. If I were to ask you 10 minutes later about who we are and what we do, it's kind of a jumbled message, just even with all the material that we're handing out. And in that process, we kind of came to the hard realization that we didn't even know how to explain ourselves, or really who we were. And when we tried and said, oh, child sponsorship, our first response is, oh, so like World Vision or Compassion, which when it comes to name recognition, we totally pale in comparison. All organizations that do great work, but if we're sort of going for that name recognition and trying to raise our profile of what we do, it sort of stops right there. So we realized that we really needed a single message that was simple, it kind of encapsulated everything. So that birthed what we call Poverty Revolution. So, and the first step with that was getting everything into a single brochure. So, I'll pass it around just don't worry, I'll take all these back, so you're not expected to take them home.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be an example.
Yeah, that comes next time. Yeah, so, Poverty Revolution, we've got our tagline in here somewhere that it's about thriving communities and not dependency. So all of our programs really fall under the message of sustainable community development and thriving communities. So that's what we have. And the Poverty Revolution is that's our long-term strategy of trying to engage Canadians to come on board with this cause, that we try and make it something that sounds exciting, it's try to make it stand out, saying that our differentiation is not child sponsorship or sending medical equipment, but all in all, it's creating thriving communities through sustainable community development. So that was our first step. The next step that we really had to, thing that we really had to do was to train ourselves, because we had, as you see, we are definitely going on the 5 brochure plus other handouts that we had explaining who we are and what we did. And it was so jumbled that in my first few months at the organization in the communications department, I had no idea what to tell people about what I did or the organization I worked for. So myself and an outside marketing group, we realized that we had to come up with sort of like brand and communication guidelines to really break down everything about what we do. So it's kind of a big document. I tried to save trees, so we only have 3. So there might be a little looking over shoulders, but I'll put down there. So this document, I'll kind of go through it, but the main part of our communication overview, what we try to drive home to our staff and to our supporters, says every nonprofit must have an urgent cause worth fighting for, one that is simple to understand and evokes emotion that is directly related to the organization's vision. So to an external audience, the name FH Canada, again, that's even more obscure than Food for the Hungry, does not hold much meaning, nor does it instill a sense of motivation. I'm reading on page 5, sorry, just below. A sense of motivation in people to rally behind the work we're doing. Even the name Food for the Hungry Canada is misleading, as individuals tend to interpret this name literally, and that we only provide food to those who are physically hungry. A person would need to dig through layers of meaning and have a personal experience to see the heart of the organization. This is where the Poverty Revolution strategy comes in. So the main strategy behind this is to provide FH Canada staff, members, and advocates with a vehicle for collecting as a collective advocacy group on behalf of the poor and marginalized, rather than presenting itself just as another relief and development agency. So Poverty Revolution provides practical reasons for people to join this cause. So when it came to branding and basically figuring out our identity, that had to be broken down in lots of different ways. So we laid out our mission, our vision, our values, the brand overview, such as what it is, some differentiating points, substantiating and qualifying, our communication overview, that's what I just touched on, how we do external communication, be it current donors or outside acquisition, just our visual components, how to get down our colors, our logos, what not to do with the logos, as far as stretching and coming up with the different colors and everything. Taglines. We had about as many taglines as we did brochures, such as bringing hope to the hopeless, hope in the hard places, hope for the whole person. So it's broken down to, it's about thriving communities, not sustainability. Try to get